When you start to build command lists and use test commands and conditional operators, or even just make pipelines, you will find that your command lines can start to get rather long. In the examples on my screen, they wrap around from one line to another. This makes them hard to read. It makes them hard to look at in a script. It makes it hard to debug and find out where there are problems when you have a problem or have made a typo, because it's really hard to even see where lines start and end. So, for long command lines, we have a couple of things we can do to make it easier to read them and see what they're doing. Quite often when you have an operator in bash, and the operator requires something on the right-hand side of the operator, like a file name or another command name, bash will automatically ignore your end of line if you put an operator and press enter. It knows that the command isn't done yet, and it wants you to continue typing it on the next line. In our first example that's already in the terminal window, where we tested for the home directory, we could have typed it out as test for the directory tilde and now press enter. We don't get the Dennis@Zubu prompt. We get a greater than symbol that says, I'm bash and I'm real smart, and I know that there has to be more to this command because you finished it with that operator. So keep going and we'll keep making the line longer. So now we can type in the next part. This one I won't finish with an operator, so it knows the command is done, and it will now run this two-line command. And it runs like it did before. If we use our up arrow to go back in history, it glues them together for us, so we can see that it was all one command line. When we create these in script files, quite often we have commands that run over multiple lines, and this can make our script files much easier to read. When we are typing these out like this, it doesn't really matter too much what we're doing. When we put in a script file, though, we may well have lines that continue onto additional lines known as continuation lines. And we may have other commands in the same file that are not part of the continuation lines. Well, making it easier to read only works if it really is easier to read. And in order to allow us to easily and visually tell that those lines belong together or don't, we use indentation. So in the first example on the slide, where we have multiple commands, we do our make dir foo and continue our typing on the next line. Because this next line is a continuation line that belongs to the first one, we want to indent or move it over at least a couple of spaces for this command. And if we keep continuing on, keep that indentation so we can easily visually see that these three commands belong together, like it shows on the slide. And the second example on the slide, there are actually two commands. The first one is the echo command, which stands alone. It does its own thing and finishes. Nothing is conditional on it, nothing depends on it. It does this command and then goes to the next command. The next command finishes with a pipe. So that's another operator that allows for continuation lines. The first command, pipe, to the second command, which is indented, pipe, to the third command, which is still indented. And it's pretty easy to see these two commands belong to the one in front, whereas this one is its own command. It starts at the same level as the echo on the line. This is a pretty common technique for doing extended lines. Try these examples yourself. Again, paying attention to use an interface name that is valid for your system.